And she doesn't work there anymore. So, hey, everyone. Dr. Kennard here with BigZebra.com, Dr. Tom Foolery, and 420. What? Shamala?
Hamala.
So we were talking about brain farts, about me not being able to figure out how to share a video on StreamYard because they happened to move the button a little bit maybe, or it looked a little differently. And I said I had a brain fart, and then Big Zebra said, what's a brain chart? And I said, well, I have a story about how I called my girlfriend's coworker a fucking racist, inadvertently to her face. Inadvertently. It was not intentional. And it may have had to do something about me drinking a lot. Like, there was a period that when the girlfriend and I started first going out, we discovered that we really both like drinking, and we were both exceptionally funny when we were drinking too. And that was a problem. So
dangerous.
We were at a holiday party. It was fucking horrible. It was hilarious too. It was hilarious. A bunch of bad behavior. So we're at this the company birthday party, the company Christmas holiday party, right? It was a company holiday party, and of course, I've said this before a million times. I'm from Brockton. It's a tough city. A lot of very nice white suburban people are afraid to go into that city. It's got a bad reputation, and I tried to prepare my girlfriend for the reaction of people when I say I'm from Brockton. And because for some folks, it's a visible reaction, right? So we're talking to one of her coworkers, and she's from a very nice town, very respectable town, close by to Brockton. And, I was shitting on Brockton. I was just shitting on it because I have a lot of experience shitting on my town. And she goes, well, at least you don't live there anymore. And I said, oh, no, I still live there. And it looks like the face that she had looks like she fucking, talk about shatting. It looks like she shit her fucking pants right then and there. It looks like she just had like a massive bowel movement with a shock on her face. So I didn't call her a fucking racist right there. Right? I didn't call her there because I wasn't that drunk. So maybe about 5 minutes later, we're just hanging around and we're just debriefing the incident, right? So we're just milling around the crowd. I'm drinking, and let's say her name is, I don't know, Al, right? Or we'll call her Alex. And I said, well, the reason why she gave that look is because Alex is a fucking racist. And as I'm saying Alex is a fucking racist, I happen to be turning around, and there she was. Right next to me.
Oh. Snap.
Brutal, everyone. This is what happens when I'm allowed to
But because you're drunk, did you just sort of go?
I just act like it didn't happen, and I just moved on. That's right. Rocky Marciano, the only heavyweight champion that was never defeated, is from Brockton, Massachusetts. That's right. His niece was actually in one of my classes, interestingly enough. But yeah, so that's my and my girlfriend thought, she's still with me. You would have thought that would have been a red flag right there. You would have thought there'd be a red flag, but no, she's still with me.
Maybe an amber flag. I don't know.
In amber, right? Only 28 days until the book of Boba Fett. Yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Something's dropping today, actually, and I forget what it is. Something cool is dropping. What is it? Pants.
Pants.
You're assuming that the pants haven't already been dropped or not consistently dropped, right?
Well, that's a good point.
But there's something cool, and I don't know what it is.
Season 3 of that Lost in Space.
It is actually season 15 of Sunny in Philadelphia. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I have never watched that show.
If you've never seen it, the best log line, the one-word synopsis for the series is it's Seinfeld on crack. It's a very similar structure to Seinfeld, in which you have these horrible characters doing horrible things, and oftentimes they screw each other over. But it's leveled up. It's leveled up to like an insane kind of place. So yeah.
Okay, I'll give it a shot sometime.
Yeah. Actually, during the pandemic, the girlfriend and I sat down and we watched all 14 seasons. Not, of course, all in one sitting, but we consumed all 14 seasons of Sunny, which was a joy.
One of my few splurges is that I have a Netflix account, and I watch maybe one episode of Parks and Recreation every 3 or 4 days, and I've been sort of working my way through it.
Have you seen the Patton Oswalt riff on the Star Wars?
I have seen it, but only in clips on YouTube. Which, by the way, what an exceptional performance!
He just did it. It was from what I understand, it was unwritten, and he just did it from the shot from the hip.
Wow.
And when you're Patton Oswalt is just a gift. That's what he is, you know. And if you haven't seen Patton Oswalt doing, I think it's the Star Wars filibuster on Parks and Recreation. It's a joy. It's a joy to see.
Yes, and I love how, at least on that show, it's filled with the sort of lunacy. You may, when you deal with the public, you will get that sort of behavior. For example, TYT did a film clip of a school board meeting, and somebody attends these things and screams about how they allow anal sex in schools and promoting them. And here's a copy of Teen Vogue, which I'm pretty sure is not part of the school library.
No.
And just endless. And that's what happens if you have a retail store. You're minding your own business, trying to. Well, anyway, we all know this, but
you know, if you've, I used to live I lived in a town that had a town meeting. So in other words, it was basically Robert's Rules of Order. Whoever showed up, we got to do votes on whatever was going on in the town.
Oh,
and
okay.
I went to a few.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few colorful characters who just want to say words, whether or not they make any sense. And and people.
Did you ever burst into chorus like on the Simpson town meetings?
No one ever said saying anything like monorail.
That's
Sorry,
Conan O'Brien's favorite episode.
Sorry, Marge. The mob has spoken. That's you can tell how old someone by what season of the Simpsons that they reference, or you can say that the same principle for what season of South Park they quote from.
Somebody wanted to talk about the use of the word Canada. And they accused you of saying the word Canardia.
No. So, Andy mistakenly said Canada and Australia. Because he was saying Australia, his Canada come out as Canada, but he didn't realize, and he just kept going. And I pointed it out in the chat.
Okay.
And then D thought it was funny to change it from Canada to Canadia.
Oh.
As in Dr. Canadia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use that, Canadia. I'm going to use that on the blog. I think that's hilarious. John Hudson, you guys going to get... I'm sorry to hear that. Grandson started showing signs of a cold last night. We were quarantining as not to get sick. Mom, Dad, and... Yeah, I remember having small kids. They got sick all the time. Anyone who's a parent knows that small kids get sick all the time. And not even, of course, the non-pandemics, right? Yeah, that if one person gets sick, it can easily blow through the entire house. I don't have to tell you that, Jesse Bear. Jeez,
Sure. Actually, John Hudson, the best way to quarantine your grandson is to keep him outside.
That's interesting. I think that might be biblical, too.
Yeah, maybe you could put him in a shed if you have one.
Yeah. Well, for women who are menstruating, I believe there's actually a place for them to go outside of the home for them.
Really?
Yeah. If you look at I think it might have been one of the in Leviticus maybe or earlier
It
than that.
sounds like Leviticus.
One of the first 5 books, right?
Yeah.
There's basically a rule that if a woman is menstruating, they have to go into outside of the town actually, and
Oh my God.
because they're ceremonial unclean. They're ceremonially unclean, and then there's a ritual for them to cleanse themselves before they reintegrate into the town. Yeah, it's that's what happens when you don't understand science. Is that you make
Uh,
up your rules.
but when you're finished the ritual cleansing, they give you some roll of Jolly Ranchers.
Oh, that would be nice, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Jolly Ranchers myself, but it'd be nice. What's up, Ian Davenport? And well, this is interesting, John Hudson, because I've seen your place. I mean, I've seen like the outside and the virtual tour and everything. You're right, and you have different sections of your home, and so yeah, I could definitely see how that would be useful during a pandemic. I mean, or if someone gets sick with something contagious, that you can. It's easier to separate when you have those little sections. Kendra, you had to work all last week. Huh? Sorry to hear that. Tobin's trying to come in. Oh, here he is, the man, the myth, the hat.
Mm.
Tobin,
Morning.
good morning.
Oh, that's right. So here's something. Speaking of kids and pandemics. So talking to my friend the other day, and her son, who's in his second year of school, so he's 6 or 7,
Mhm.
whatever age it is, and he's had a few accidents at school, and teachers couldn't figure it out. And when his mum spoke to him, he didn't realize, just hadn't learned because no one had told him specifically that you didn't need permission to use the toilets at lunchtime.
Oh,
It's a class thing. And reason being, this kid has not done even 6 months in either of his 2 years at school because of
yeah.
the pandemic.
Sure.
So he's in his second year and did not know he was allowed to go to the toilet
Wow.
Wow,
because
that
he
would
hasn't
hurt.
learnt
Oh,
school.
And I gotta tell you, I remember the first day of school, of elementary school, I pissed my pants on the walking to school, so I had to go back home and get a new pair of pants. I was walking with my mom. I still remember that. That kid's gonna remember pissing his fucking pants a couple of times. Yeah, you carry that with you for a while.
But that's an effect of the pandemic that we don't think about. These young kids who have started, big parts of their life in this pandemic.
Yeah.
And also, I had a piss incident my first day, but another boy, this naughty boy who had repeated and was doing kindergarten again, peed on
Oh my
me.
God.
Literally just turned at the stall and peed on me. And I had to wear these nasty brown corduroy pants from the Lost and Found box on my first day of school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scarred for life.
Yep.
Yeah, wearing corduroy pants will do that to you.
Never forget that boy.
I remember.
He had issues.
Oh yeah, yeah. That I have to tell you, I went to the special school on the special bus, and Sammy, I've never had anyone pee on me.
No, I never have since.
Not until you were an adult.
Not till I asked for it.
Paid extra for that.
what's up, Jason?
Don't incriminate yourself, Andy. I'm not incriminating myself. What's up, Dragons?
God, that was awful.
Kids are evil.
I removed somebody
Hey,
from
man.
chat today.
What's that?
Did y'all see that?
No,
Yes.
On whose channel?
On this channel
Oh, there was
during the early show.
I was late. What happened?
There's a dude talking about how flu shots don't actually do anything. And so I usually don't deal with trolls like verbally, but I did some basic reviews of what scholarly consensus is. And, ivermectin doesn't work. Hydrochloroquine or hydrochloroquine doesn't work for which, Marcus Lamb took both of those medications.
So that's what
But
I
he's
came
doing
in to
great.
it must have been your reaction.
Yeah. And of course, prayer doesn't work. None of these things have been peer reviewed to work on ivermectin. Yeah.
So I was arguing with a supposed chemist of some sort. I believe he said biochemist, but he also said he was an information scientist or something.
All right. My girlfriend's an information scientist. She's not a doctor, but she's an information. Well, that's what I think her title is. So she deals with data. She deals with large blocks of data.
Which I think is what he actually was. We think the biochemist thing was a bit of a story, but he was just trying to say that science doesn't care about consensus.
Yeah. All right.
But we were like, yeah, no, no one is trying to say it does. It's not a caring, thinking thing. Science doesn't care about consensus. Science creates consensus, and we come to a consensus.
Yeah.
And what he wouldn't accept and just kept dancing around was that, yes, we know that we learn new things. It's always the one person who comes up with it. And yes, it's fringe and everyone laughs at them at the time and whatever. And it may then become consensus. But my thing is, because I'm not a scientist and because I'm not an expert, I'm going to ignore the fringe guy until it is consensus. And when all the scientists are saying this is how it is,
right,
I will give in to what they say because I'm not an expert.
So scientific consensus is not the same as mob rule, right? It isn't like you get a bunch of dudes and PhD, men and women and small furry animals from Alpha Centauri all in their lab coats, mobbing, going around beating people up who don't go with who aren't in favor of the scientific consensus. It's just that this is the best guess at what we have, right? Yeah. And I do want to argue
that it's been looked at by peers.
And you know what? There's a lot of examples of convergent evolution of ideas. If I'm going to throw that and I don't even know if that's properly used, but you have people like Wallace and Darwin both working on natural selection at the same time. You have I think calculus being
Leibniz and Isaac Newton.
Right. So basically, what happens is that you have a certain number of ideas in society at any one time, and people are working on these concepts, and occasionally they come up with the same conclusion at approximately the same time. So yeah, it isn't always just one person working on
exactly. And it's often these people are often standing on the shoulders of work that's been done by people before them too. But he was essentially trying to push fringe theories by saying that I'm a scientist, so I understand these things, and I'm just trying to say,
well, that's an argument
you
from authority.
Understand it, so you can't argue.
How
Thank
can
you?
How
and
can
I said that's an argument from authority. No, it's not, because I'm not saying that it's true because they say it's true.
So what he's doing, this is some kind of equivocation, right? Is that he's saying that the scientific consensus isn't true because it's basically an argument from authority, but he's saying that his statements are true because he's an authority. That's just funny. I don't care where you're from.
And
you can headline with that.
His authority understands these other authorities. He's just appealing to authority all the way.
Yeah, all the way down. Yeah.
And then, so And I was just calling out, but in the end, I wasn't even responding other than with single words. I was calling out his fallacies as he was doing them.
Well, yeah, I mean, people like, there's a variety of tactics, conspiracy theorists use. And one of them is the Gish Gallop, which is just basically word fucking you with nonsense. The Jordan Peterson tactic, the, I don't know, Ken Hovind tactic, what's the name of the Christian apologist that William
Hugh.
Craig. William
Oh,
Craig
William
word
Craig,
fucks
yeah.
people. It's a sign that you don't have anything really. You have no real point. You have no real data, and so you're just doing these cheap tricks that trick fools that don't know the tricks that you're pulling. So if you're on YouTube and you're just like, not supporting your arguments in any way, and there are a bunch of people who want to confirm your bias, then yeah, you get your fan base just like that.
I know a funny William Lane Craig story. I saw his debate against physicist Sean Carroll,
Oh yeah,
and Sean Carroll pointed out that William Craig's reasoning about the beginning of the universe and Kalam, that he quoted various scientific papers in doing so, and Sean Carroll pulls out the scientist who wrote the paper and explain that William Lane Craig is wrong
Yeah.
about his conclusions. And the hilarious thing is that William Lane Craig argued with the scientists about their own work.
yeah. Well, that's what
And
it is.
that they didn't understand his reasoning, you see.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fantastic. It's exactly what I would have done, because why the hell not?
Right.
Just or make it up as you go along.
Well, that's it. Is that another rule, especially if you are a personality or a conservative influencer, is that you can never admit that you're wrong. It's the Donald Trump strategy, right?
Yeah.
Even when you're wrong, even when there's data right in front of you, you just say that's wrong, and you just go to the next lie.
Yes.
I know that idea gets carried over into even like construction work and other trades of business. I've heard that sentiment expressed. Just it's the person down there, not me. I didn't do nothing wrong.
Yep. Yep. You're right about that, man.
Well, my dad would argue that the dictionary was wrong before admitting that he was wrong.
Well, at a certain point, you become Bill Clinton and you start arguing what the definition of is, right? I mean, I'm so wrong. I have to start.
Record, and to this day, Andy, record has 2 C's, just for your information.
Oh, okay. All right.
It does.
Is that the Middle English term that Shakespeare wrote?
That must be.
Or maybe the High German? I mean, I don't know.
Well,
That's
he is
the
German.
word Shakespeare used when he had his own recording studio. That's how he spelt it. Sorry, I talked over you there, 420.
Let me just point this out from Dragons
No,
and Genesis.
that's
Jason points out William Lane Craig only uses those arguments because he can't use his actual reason for belief, which is personal revelation. Oh, fucking spot on. So he presents other arguments that will confuse the audience and make him seem smart. He then spouts them with confidence and charisma and scoffs at the rebuttal. That's how he wins debates. No, you're right. You're right. It's a very simple equation.
Yeah, and isn't that the same tactic that so many, if not all, apologists and debaters of apologetics use? That exact strategy, in that order. Dance around the parts that you can't argue, laugh at their rebuttal and scoff it, essentially. Throw out some ad homs while you're at it.
Well, that's the reason why, if you're debating someone like that, then, you could play it one way or two, or you can play it a couple of different ways. You can either use those same strategies and just, you fight fire with fire, you try to debate nicely, or some kind of hybrid system. I mean, Hitchens was always good because Hitchens' system was accent, large vocabulary, cultural reference that they don't understand, and chortle. That was the Hitchens strategy, which worked remarkably well because most people don't have a large vocabulary, especially apologists. Most people aren't classically trained, and there's always going to be one or two people in the audience who does get the Hitchens cultural reference, the classical reference of Greek or Roman history, and they'll laugh along. And so it was a beautiful system. Yeah.
There was yet another school shooting in the U.S. I was sorry to see. It was Michigan this time,
Michigan. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I was disturbed to see that Dr. Oz plans to run for U.S. Senate.
He's running for. He's running in Pennsylvania for a Republican seat. The person who's running, the Republican is. I know, dude. There's just so many crazy things to talk about, like
Yes.
Dr. Oz, and this is what makes me angry. This is what makes me angry that the Democrats are not trying to get celebrities to run for public office. I have been, and now you may say, celebrities, that's a horrible idea. Well, what's better, an idiot Democrat or a fascist Republican?
Mm.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just someone who wants to win elections. I just want to win
There's a
elections.
saying: a bad day drinking is
Mm.
better than a good day at church,
That's what
Andy.
they say.
So,
Yeah.
a bad lib is better than a good conservative.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. At least you won't be doing goose stepping down Main Street. I mean, when before Trump completely fucked up the COVID response, I was saying Oprah should run for president for the Democrats, run with Bernie, and then abdicate and just give Sanders the presidency like 6 months after winning. I would have done that. But yeah, Oz is running. He says good things about Trump because you have to say good things about Trump if you're a Republican.
Oh, the Republican.
Right. So Dr. Oz, who is a huckster and a con person of
Yes.
biblical amounts. He's having a lot of different crap ideas. He's running as a fucking Republican because there's no way he would be able to win that seat if he wasn't a Republican, more than likely. So Republicans want to win, and then
Wasn't Dr. Oz called out on the Senate? There was some sort of committee about his constant nonsense about miracle cures and
maybe I don't remember off the top of my head.
to the Google machine. I'll look that up.
Through the Google machine. That's right. Yeah, Dr. Oz pushes pseudoscience on the daily. Yeah. I have to tell you, Jesse Bear, in a perfect world, I would not want Oprah to be president either, but I want to win. I want to drive a stake through the heart of American-style fascism, and if that means Matthew McConaughey, who should be running as Texas governor.
With some of these bigger positions, like the president, I'm right now at this point in time, how I view what a president should be is somebody who addresses the country, who can speak to us, and then also who can go to other countries and talk to other leaders.
Yeah.
And like that to me is like an important thing, I think, for someone who is in that position, like being able to communicate well, and they don't have to be all that smart. You just got to be able to be handed your script and be able to deliver.
I will say this is that you have to have good judgment, right? And you have to be surrounding yourself with good people. The only reason why we didn't get into a nuclear war with the USSR during the Cuban Missile Crisis is because John F. Kennedy didn't follow a lot of voices in the U.S. military. The U.S. military wanted to do airstrikes on Cuba to knock out the missiles, and John F. Kennedy said, "I don't know what the fuck you guys are thinking about, basically, but we're not sending in. We're doing a naval blockade.
Well,
we are not sending in the U.S. Air Force to strafe fucking Cuba."
So,
And
Dr.
and
Oz
now
Well, what were you
it
going to
feels.
say? What were you
Yeah,
going to say,
Grant.
Dr. Tomfoolery? I heard a.
with you promoting Oprah as being presidential candidate, I was wondering, wasn't it Oprah who originally promoted Dr. Oz in the first place,
She was.
Yes.
Yeah.
getting into television?
Oh, oh yeah, she did the Satanic Panic. Yeah, I
Yeah, so
am
I was
a.
like, she's
Yeah,
not really that great of judge of character, I would think, based on
no,
such things.
I know, controversial, right? She helped spread the Satanic Panic during the '80s.
Hmm.
But if you talk about, once again, I don't think I don't, and I will die on this hill. I don't think Joe Biden would have become president if it wasn't for Trump fucking up COVID so much. You know, I think he would have just took him through the grinder.
Well, and like tagging off what Tobin said about communication, not only to your own people, but how you look to the rest of the world and how you communicate with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
with Trump, America went from having the creepy uncle to the senile old granddad
Hmm.
that you can barely understand.
Well, he is not good. He was never a good speaker. You know,
It
he
was
was.
so basic. You would just hear like the words "good" a lot. Oh, you're doing good. These guys are doing good. You know, let's
He
get this
loses
going.
his train of thought so regular, like every sentence. So the main point, which is like the bit at the end that you get to in a sentence, he never gets to.
Yeah.
So he just says words.
And he made enemies out of people. He would like be like, you know,
Oh, so this is Biden, I mean.
Biden.
Mm.
Well, Biden. You know, Biden.
Biden. Now Trump was Trump. We don't
I would
even
say
need
that
to
probably,
comment, but
and I don't.
Biden's like the senile grandpa that can't get his thoughts out.
I don't want to. I don't want to praise Trump, but Trump knew how to speak to his people, and that subjects and predicates strung together in coherency was not necessary. It was not necessary for him to get this point
Which
across.
is why I say creepy uncle.
Yeah. So Dragons of Genesis says a good leader requires charisma, intelligence, morality, and understanding of what the nation needs. Yeah, yeah. And for president, we're lucky to get one of those. And also, you know, Jesse Baird does point out that Joe has a stuttering disorder. Yeah, it is difficult.
Oh yeah, I don't want. I'm not like Biden is far better than Trump.
Oh yeah.
He would have been my last choice of the Democrat.
I would say, you know, I mean, of course, if you do, I mean, as a person who has had, and my speech disability was far less impactful on my life than Joe Biden's, but I know that staying on script helps, right? Staying on script helps. So Biden probably has people tell him, or has had people tell him, stay on script, Joe. Just, you know, don't go riffing, don't go scatting. Just stick to the words on the prompter.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was
you know, I mean,
Trump's falling too was when he would go off script.
Yeah.
Because his script was bad enough.
Yeah.
But as soon as he went off script, he would just incriminate himself.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think history will actually look positively, you know, on Joe Biden's up until this time at least. I don't know what he's going to do in the future, of course, but you know, I will say this: I think getting out of Afghanistan was a net plus. Oh my God, why is that so? Okay, so it was a shit show leaving, but a lot, you know, Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan. He couldn't get out of Afghanistan. We've been in there for over 20 years, over 20 years. And so Biden was able to get us out of there. So I think that alone is positive. And of course, the infrastructure plan, getting rid of all of those stupid rules, misogynistic rules, anti-LGBTQ rules that the Trump administration put in. Yeah, I think people will look positively on at least the first year of Biden's presidency. And if he
and
gets a social program passed too, for extra money for to make us a little bit more like Canada, I think that'd be nice, or Australia.
Mm.
Yeah, well, you got to stay on top. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, I mean, and yet somehow, Biden is still doing a better job than. And I'll say this: he's doing a better job than Bush the younger, right? Because let's not forget, before we had a horrible Republican president, we had a horrible Republican president.
Mm.
you
Yeah,
know,
one of the most important things with a presidential administration is who they delegate the various things to, like with the various secretaries of the various parts of the administration and all the other positions they appoint. So
yeah,
even if the person themselves stumbles and whatnot, who they appoint to all the various different parts of the administration is far more important than just that.
yeah.
and can I just want to say on that, as someone who knows absolutely nothing, so this is literally my ass talking, but I feel like that was true right up until Trump, when he surrounded himself by his family, friends, and yes men. So
Yeah, who
he,
you surround yourself is important.
Yeah,
yeah. So yes, what you're saying is correct, and Trump failed in that regard.
well,
Like
the nature of fascists is that they
biblically.
fascist. Can you imagine like Joe Stalin surrounding himself with someone who said no to Joe Stalin? No, no one said no to Papa Joe. There was this moment, right, in one of the party conferences. This is during the purges. Is that he walked on stage and everyone was clapping and clapping and clapping and clapping and clapping, and people were afraid to sit down because if they were the first one to sit down, they'd be targeted for a purge.
Oh,
So he just
Yeah.
kept clapping and clapping and clapping until he told them to sit the fuck down.
that must be what it's like to be in heaven.
Oh yeah,
Too afraid to sit down because you got to just keep on praising Jesus.
you got to keep
Yeah.
praising. Yeah, that's right.
I didn't tell you to stop.
Right. What's up, Cindy Plaza?
Ugh.
Yeah, I want to say this about Joe Biden too. All right, so let's go back to 9/11, right? Let's go back to 9/11 and the horrific response that Bush the younger did. Fucked up the Afghanistan occupation, put in a bunch of rookies, and then he went into Iraq, which basically set off an entire, immigration crisis that we're still dealing with, right? And then he endorsed torture too. So let's imagine Joe Biden today was in that same situation. I don't see Joe Biden making that many mistakes. He is much more. Whatever else you can say about him, he is more conservative. He's more prudent with his choices in terms of what we're going to be doing with the U.S. military. He's not perfect, but he's not a Republican. There's no doubt about that.
Right on.
Oh, Cindy Plaza. Yeah, there was something about Dawkins, right? Was this another turf thing? Was this another?
I think it was, but I can't remember
activity?
what the thing was
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, don't make
I
eye.
don't know what the first thing was about with
Yeah,
Dawkins.
yeah.
I
Well,
can't
that's
stand him.
yeah. Oh yes, yes. So it was something about trans women aren't women, basically. It's some people just don't adapt, and I'm sorry for some kind of pun being in that statement. Some people just can't adapt to the zeitgeist as it changes.
I get it. Change is scary, but
Yeah, why can't you accept trans women? No one asking you to date them or marry them or
Or
have sex
be
with them.
them.
You're just asking you to let them go about their lives without all this fucking finger
Yeah.
pointing.
Sure, Cindy. Cindy, Cindy, you can always come on. I mean, you already known. You can always come on the panel anytime you want to. I mean, we know who you are.
Heck yeah.
So
Please, Cindy, join.
Yeah, Richard Dawkins. Well, you have this kind of like halo effect, right?
Mm.
Which is a logical fallacy. That if you're really good at one thing, people just assume that you're fucking shitting out gold, that your shit doesn't stink, and they don't critically look at all the shady stuff or all the squirrely stuff that you're saying or doing. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, like so many doctors think they're so bright that they can manage their own investments, and then they don't have any money.
Well,
That's
yes,
a famous thing.
there are at least a couple of cases I remember reading about physicians, dentists that were taken in by Nigerian princes, with
Oh my
millions of
God.
dollars, millions of dollars.
Oh
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, this is the thing, Dragons and Genesis, and I remember having this argument with my philosophy 101 teacher back in the day as an undergraduate, is that compassion is actually the basis of morality, and he did the hard sell on me, and I accept that. Cindy here? Hey, Cindy Plaza. The Plaza of Plazas.
Hello.
What's up, Cindy?
Hey.
Hey,
Woo! So
hi everyone.
what's going on with Professor Dawkins? What's he talking all about?
He published on Twitter a couple days ago a document that he incites people to sign, where basically he says that trying to replace sex by gender is dangerous to women, so we need to forget or deny this distinction between sex and gender, and so this way we can protect women. That's basically what he says.
Wow. How about that? How about that?
So yeah, he's got an entire document. Just give me a second. I'm trying to find it back. But yeah,
I'm looking through
it's
Twitter right now too, Cindy. I'm looking through Twitter right now.
So much more despicable to use the guise of protecting women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
to that level of
it's quite smart on some way, because he uses those women who don't like trans women and don't accept that trans women are women. They're called TERFs, trans exclusionary feminist something. And so by having this discourse, he's putting them on his side.
Yeah. It is the Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights. I just saw the tweet, from November 29th. What a strange hill to die on, right? What a strange thing to say that, and let's face it, Dawkins is in his golden years at this point and has been in his golden years for quite a while, that this is the topic. This is the thing that you're going to say, I'm going to die on this hill.
It reminds me a little bit of that tragedy at the atheist community of Austin, where they ended up losing everyone in production and most of their hosts because they were having on a special guest who, Rationality Rules, who had said that, it was a tragedy that trans women were competing in women's sports and a bunch of other nonsense. And people just had enough and walked away. Said, see you later.
So
go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, this specific event with Rationality Rules, he admitted it was a mistake. He made a video saying he was sorry and why he made that mistake and what was the reality. So I wouldn't be too hard on him, because yes, he said something that was wrong and that was harmful to some people, I am trans and I play sports. I'm in a soccer team.
Yes.
So, but he did what he had to do. He corrected himself. He tried to do right by everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
in
I,
particular to the event at the Atheist Community of Austin, he eventually came out with a very brief tweet, but there was nothing addressed about it on air. And when people kept saying, correct this mistake, the Atheist Community of Austin put on 3 different shows and did not address it. And all they had to say was, we got it wrong.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
that.
it's it is difficult for a lot of people to say. I mean, I've been caught. Years ago, I said a crappy joke, and then it took me
Mhm.
a couple of hours to realize, wow, that was a shitty joke. And it's difficult to be, in this space and not make mistakes. But I know the rationality rules incident that you're talking about, Cindy,
Mhm.
and I did see the video, and then I saw his his apology too, and I felt like it was a heartfelt and honest an apology too. It
Yeah.
wasn't like
Yeah, I'm gonna make mistakes. Like I think we're all going to, and if you're just going to like double down and keep on like die on that hill, then
Mhm.
that's whenever you definitely deserve to be kind of I don't know.
And I think.
Is
Sorry,
shunned a
David,
bad
finish.
thing? Like, should we be shunning these people, or like,
Mhm.
Well, there's like a spectrum. Well, there's like a spectrum of people, right? So there are people who make honest mistakes and honestly try to make good, right? I mean, I'm sure that you've heard me before interviewing people. It's like, so you did this thing. What are you doing to make good? What are you doing to make good on it? I mean,
And
what are you doing? What's your action plan, so to speak? And then there are people who aren't apologetic at all at the very end, and then they keep doubling down on whatever they're doing.
Like Dawkins. Yeah.
Like Dawkins, exactly. So somewhere there's this middle ground, and you have to figure out, who's actually apologizing, who's trying to make good. Yeah.
Yeah. The first sentence of his Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights, he says, on the reaffirmation of women's sex-based rights, including women's rights to physical and reproductive integrity, and the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women and girls that result from the replacement of the category of sex with that of gender identity, and from surrogate mother and related practices. That's how he starts his
Well,
his
PZ Myers,
document.
I'm looking at the reactions to the tweet, and PZ Myers says it's an anti-trans manifesto cloaked in the language of feminism, so I wouldn't sign it. Yeah.
but it doesn't hark back to that archaic thinking of you can't get rights without me somehow losing rights.
Well, there's the psychology there, right?
But
There's
he's
psychology
speaking on behalf of women. This pompous old white English dude speaking on behalf of women, mind you, cis women.
Yeah.
That cis women are going to lose rights by transgender people gaining rights.
And just to back it up a little bit, you're actually mirroring or adding on to Republican talking points, at least here in the States, right? You're actually you're just supporting fascist talking points. And there are a lot of atheists out there who are not aware of this, that they have good hearts, but they are just spreading Fox News filth in the community. And they're useful fools. That's what they are.
Yeah, what surprises me the most is that he, despite all the literature existing today about what is gender and gender identity, I mean, you go to Google Scholar and you type gender identity and you have thousands of articles. And despite this, him, a scientist, a biologist, still doesn't understand that gender and sex are two very, very different things. And he keeps, and like his followers, I've been trying to educate one guy who keep keeps answering to my answer to Dawkins, where I explain him the difference, and he just doesn't want to accept that. Every time you speak about gender, they systematically come back to sex. They don't want to understand, or I don't know what's the resistance here. I mean, one is in the brain, the other one is in the mostly the genitals, hormones and everything like that. But man, how is it so hard to understand?
Well, it's and I don't take out my vegetarianism that much, because I know that there's an instinctual reaction about there's this, but I think that some people's reaction to vegetarianism is similar to this. It's like it's some kind of like midbrain response. It's a kind of midbrain response, and let's face it, I don't care how smart you are, right? We're all shitty thinkers, right? We are all shitty thinkers. Evolution only does good enough. It doesn't do perfect. Even the smartest ones of us, even the smarties, are like shitty thinkers. It's like the best driver, the best person to drive an automobile is still a shitty driver.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, I hope one day
thanks
that
for coming on, Cindy. You can come on anytime you want to.
Yeah, well, I work usually at this time because it's almost 4:30 p.m. Here.
Oh.
So
May
yeah,
I
but
ask-
yeah, when I can, I will.
Good.
may I ask where you're
Thanks.
from? You have a lovely accent.
I'm French.
Okay.
I currently live in Belgium, but I grew up in France.
Cool.
Alrighty.
So I have a meeting, so I'm going to leave you there, guys.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. And
Oh, yeah,
if
thank
you want
you.
to talk about this, no worries.
Bye.
I'm here.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I just want to bounce off what Rage was saying, because there are a lot of atheists who are just there are some YouTube atheists, some atheists within the movement who are just Trojan horsing Republican talking points into the community. So just to try to get more votes, more supporters for fascism, basically. What's up, King Farouk? Glad to see that you're here. It was great having Cindy here. Because I knew that there was something going on with Dawkins, but for fuck's sake, man, there's always something going on with that guy. Always something going on.
Yeah.
I find the opposition really weird, because these people are just literally trying to go about their own business, and they're not even asking for a lot of help.
It's our species, man. We just like fucking with other people's shit. Like, you just have your own shit, and there's even a lot of shit. But people just want to come over and just start fucking with your shit. And I wish it was anything more complicated than that, but that's just how it is. Yeah. Dawkins is night whiting for J.K. Rowling, who's also another person on that team. Yeah, Rawlings. Gotcha. Yeah. Cindy's great. I was on their channel a while back, and hope you're doing really well, Rage. Yeah, definitely. Echo what Jesse's saying. Well, so wow, that was. I always love these after shows, because we talk about so many different topics.
Yeah. Impromptu.
Yeah.
Some
Well,
improv.
the shit thing is, if you call out Dawkins, then you're a woke culture trying to console. These people who are complaining about woke culture 10 years ago were complaining about SJWs, and those are the people who helped fucking Donald Trump get elected. I just want to say that. The fucking YouTube atheists who are complaining about, yes, I'm looking at you, amazing atheist, who are complaining about black culture, those were the people who helped Donald J. Trump get elected president of the United States. So people who are complaining against wokeism, they are useful fools. And if you're an atheist, you're digging your own fucking grave, because as soon as the theocrats get into power, you're on the fucking train with the rest of us. You
Yep.
can fool yourself that you're not, but you're going to be in the ditch. You're going to be in the camps. Well, John Hudson, I have noticed that it's a bit of a sausage fest here on
Mm-hmm.
but I try to make it as welcoming. I try to make it as welcoming as possible. What's up, Mikey
I
family?
mean, I love a good bit of sausage just as much as the next man, but there's only so much sausage one can take.
You do have a pretty diverse audience, though. I mean,
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. I mean, I'm ecstatic about the audience, but every once in a while, I will say that wow, even though we have a diversity of people from places in the world, obviously, 420 atheists, Australia, Canada,
Hey.
you know,
And wherever Tobin's from. Where are you from, Tobin?
I'm in Texas.
deep in the heart.
Texas?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Deep in the heart.
Good for you.
Texas is a whole nother country too.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So tell me. All right, before we start closing down, the girlfriend and I are thinking about doing some traveling. I know this sounds crazy to everyone. The girlfriend and I are thinking about doing some traveling on the weekend, one of the weekends before Christmas. With Omicron going about, how crazy is it to travel someplace like Vegas, or someplace like New York, or one of the big destinations? How, on a scale of 1 to fucking you're crazy, to think about it? How
No,
crazy?
go. It's not completely crazy as long as you don't leave the country. Because if you leave the country, they might not let you back in.
Oh no, that'd be horrible. Stop it. Stop it.
Well, it's happened to so many people who are trapped in some foreign country and they can't come home because, blah, blah, blah.
So Big Zebra, you say not so crazy. Sammy, what do you think?
I would go to a remote location like a cabin somewhere.
Yeah, we did that. Anyone else?
Andy?
I'm a person who will take risk, but I will consider what my risks are and try to prepare for it the best I can. Because even if you sit at home, you're in danger. There's something that's that can go wrong and cause harm. So, like, living in fear is like one of those things that I don't know. I don't like to cater to, but I understand there are risks that that need to be
Microphone
considered.
says, Andy, is this how you didn't get HIV during the AIDS pandemic during the 80s?
So,
Probably with fear. I'm just saying, that's
Well,
what microphone's saying.
yeah.
That's microphone saying
Right,
that.
right.
fear and condoms. But
Which would be a great name
Andy,
for a
you,
band.
you should know my answer without even asking me. If
I
you
need
said
someone to talk me down, Sammy.
if people said to me, "Where's the last place you'd go now that borders are opening up?" I'd say, "Well, probably the States." And then they say, "And where in the States would be like a place you definitely shouldn't go?" I'd say somewhere like Las Vegas, where lots of people like to go from different places.
Thank you, Sammy.
Yeah,
Dr.
Florida might be
You're
one of those
welcome.
places. Yeah, you would stay away from as well.
So, Dr. Tom Foolery, what do you think?
Stuff happens.
On my gravestone, stuff happens. It happened.
Or just stuff happened.
All right. So before I close up, once again, Jesse, you're in my thoughts.
So what's the decision, Andy? Are you gonna go?
So you guys trust me. My coughing is bad. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that, Jesse Bear.
Hopefully, we didn't sway you either way. So you're right where you were before you asked us, and it's still up to you.
No, it's still up to me, but I got to close out the show because we're going up to an hour. I got to get ready for work. Everyone who's watching, thanks. Cindy Plaza, once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shamala, everyone.
Thank you, Doctor.
Always fun. Always fun. And I'm going to hit the button.
Shamala hamala.